It was a big scoop for the New York Times. After months of refusing to release his tax returns, the New York Times uncovered 3 pages of Donald Trump's 1995 returns, which showed eye-popping losses. But while the story made plenty of political hay, it also raised an ethical question. Did the Times violate federal law?
I will release my tax returns against my lawyer's wishes when she releases her 33,000 emails.
That's just one reason why Donald Trump won't release his tax returns. So it was a bombshell when the New York Times got just 3 pages from 21 years ago.
This morning, Donald Trump facing accusations he's a tax dodger. Part of the billionaire's 1995 return leaked to the New York Times.
The document showed almost $1 billion in losses that could be used to offset future profits for decades. Bottom line, Trump might not have paid federal taxes for years. Trump didn't deny the information, but did make some threats.
The Trump campaign says the documents were illegally obtained.
You can commit a crime if you steal a document like that, obtain it illegally maybe, but opening your mailbox is not a crime.
And that's what the Times says happened. The documents were mailed to them anonymously and then verified by Trump's accountant.
He's a genius.
Trump supporters say while Trump did nothing illegal, the media might have.
These dirty tricks, attacks, backed by the media, backed by the mainstream media, and especially the New York Times, Washington Post.
Federal law says it's illegal to publish an unauthorized tax return. File under the year of living dangerously. The editor of the Times, Dean Baquet, just a few weeks ago said he would go to jail if he could get a copy of Donald Trump's tax returns and print them. So he's living up to his word because no unauthorized, it has to be authorized from the individual before. Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. If anything, Donald Trump hasn't threatened to sue the New York Times, but something could follow out of this.
Well, there's 2 things going on here. I'm not a lawyer, and I'm going to try not to play one on TV, but there are 2 relevant facts to this. First of all, these were not Trump's federal tax returns. These were state tax returns, the 3 pages that the Times actually obtained. So it's not entirely clear that that would be a violation of federal law. But the second thing, probably the more important point, is that even though there is a specific federal law that says you can't publish federal tax returns without permission, these are so newsworthy that you could make a very strong First Amendment case that they had the right to go ahead and do this.
Well, and there's the other point is, I'm also not a lawyer, but is the law that says you cannot publish those returns constitutional? And that's,
well,
I
that
think,
would be the First Amendment.
Right. And I think that's an argument that the New York Times would clearly make if they did face that kind of a suit. But just to go back on, I think journalists are and should be willing to defy the law when there is a matter of overwhelming public interest, and this certainly would fit that for me. I think it was perfectly, law aside, perfectly ethical for them to do what they did.
There was a guy from the Cato Institute who made a pretty compelling case that there is a New York law under which this may have been illegal, but that law is probably unconstitutional and probably wouldn't be upheld by the Supreme Court. It has to be pointed out that some of the same people bemoaning the poor ethics on the part of the Times in publishing this were thrilled when WikiLeaks dumped all those illegally obtained email communications that showed how Hillary Clinton had talked about Bernie Sanders and how the DNC had worked against Bernie Sanders. And some of them are the same people hoping that WikiLeaks does the same thing as an October surprise to get Donald Trump elected. So it's always embarrassing, I think, when there's that lack of consistency, and I think we see it here.
Well, a couple of things. First of all, the lawyers did threaten to sue, and then after they published it, no word from them. Now maybe they're, getting their stuff all together again to come back, but they didn't deny that they were his taxes. I think the other thing that's important is that they went through all of the journalistic steps to verify that these were accurate. They went to the accountant himself. Trump's accountant. He said, "Yep, that's me. That's we did this. Blah blah blah. This is what I can't say, but I can say he didn't pay his taxes, and some of us did." That's a quote from him. So I think that gives them leeway under the First Amendment to do that. The other part of this is they weren't stolen by the Times. They were obviously stolen by somebody, but not stolen by the Times. Now, I will say, we've talked about whether it's appropriate for us, we journalists, to publish something that's stolen by other folks. You know, and mostly this has been about emails. So some of those stolen emails that have been embarrassing. I'm not talking about WikiLeaks, but you know, some of that salacious stuff that's gone on. Is that, you know, where do we stand on there, and is this close to that? I don't know. But it seems right now that this is the First Amendment upheld thing, and as she said, you can't take me to jail for going to my mailbox, but they sent it to me.
But for printing it out of your mailbox.
Right.
No, that's right. And presidential nominees enjoy virtually no privacy rights under the First Amendment. So it would be almost impossible for the Times
You should
to
go after the person who leaked it.
which
Well,
may have
yeah,
been
but I'm sure they're
Marla
looking.
Maples.
Yeah.
Marla.
Yeah, her name's on those returns. So,
That would be juicy.
And you know, one reason why that Trump may not want to sue the Times is that then you get into a discovery issue where the Times can
Yeah. Oh, well, let's see
obtain
the
some-
rest of that stuff.
Right.
That's right.
Right.